Welcome to video number 12 in my Financial Freedom video series. Today we're going to be using the terms that we talked about last week for stocks to actually calculate some numbers, and you'll see that all you need is really a third grade education to calculate these ratios to compare companies. So let's start. First of all, I'm going to use an example for an insurance company called Hartford. HIG is the stock symbol. So if you look up HIG, you look up the price, and this is a price from a bit ago, but if you look up the price from, say, October, you'll find that the stock was $55.05, the market price as of the end of October. Now, remember last time we talked about equity or shareholders' equity. The shareholders' equity at that time was $17.2 billion. And the number of shares outstanding were $358 million. Now, all you need to do is calculate the book value is divide that $17.2 billion by 358, and you get the book value of $48.1. Anybody can do that, right? So we talked about price to earnings ratio and price to book value ratio last time. So let's calculate the price to book value. I told you the price was $55.05. The book value we just calculated was $48.01. So the price to book value is approximately 1.1 times, or 110%. So the price is higher than the book value. Now, that may be good or bad. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. Hartford's operating income for the third quarter, was $234 million. Again, the average outstanding shares for the quarter is 367 million. See, the amount at the end of the quarter was 358, but they clearly bought some of those shares back, so it decreased over the quarter, and the average was 367. So remember you talked about earnings, the last quarter's operating earnings per share was 64 cents per share. And the last 4 quarters operating earnings, or EPS, earnings per share, was $1.31. Now you'll say, wait a second, they earned 64 cents in the quarter. Why shouldn't it be about 4 times that, 4 quarters? Well, Hartford had a lot of catastrophe claims from hurricanes in this particular year. Now, the consensus 2018 earnings is $4.65. Consensus means the average estimate. Now, you can calculate the PE many different ways, but the first way we're going to calculate is based on that 1 quarters of earnings, that's 64 cents. So if you multiply that by 4, you get $2.56. And remember, the price of the stock was $55.05. So if you divide the price by that annualized earnings, you get a PE of 21 times, 21.05 times. So clearly the earnings for the quarter was very low because of the catastrophe. So let's look at it a different way. The consensus earnings estimate I just talked about was $4.65. So let's divide the current price by that. And you'll see that the 2018 projected price to earnings ratio is 11.8, much smaller number. Remember, we talked about EBITDA. So Hartford's EBITDA in the quarter was $338 million, or 92 cents. And the last 4 quarters was $1.79. So now I'm going to go to another company, and then we'll compare Hartford to some of its peers. So let's talk about Discover Financial Services, DFS. They had a price of $66.53. And their equity, their shareholders' equity in total was $11.2 billion. The number of shares outstanding was 366 million. And so the book value is the $11.2 billion divided by the 366 million, or $30.60. Now remember, the price was $66.53. So if we divide the 66.53 by the $30.60, we get 2.2 times. Now remember, Hartford's price to book value was 1.1 times. So Discover on a price to book value is much more expensive. Now let's talk about their operating income. Discover's operating income was $602 million for that quarter. The average outstanding shares for the quarter was 371. So the E, the operating income divided by the outstanding shares, is 602 divided by 371, or $1.62 per share. That's their earnings per share for that quarter. The last 4 quarters operating income was $5.88. And we'll do the same thing we did for Hartford. Let's look at the consensus 2018 earnings per share, which was $6.59. So the annualized 1 quarter earning, $1.62, times 4 is $6.48. Not that much different from the $6.59. But if you divide the current price, 66.53, by the $6.48, you get 10.3. That's their price to earnings ratio based on the current quarter. If you use the annualized consensus 2018, $6.59, you get 10.1. So very close. But remember, Hartford's PE was a little bit higher. The PE here is 10.1 for the full year 2018 based on the consensus annual analyst earnings estimate, and the annualized 1 quarter is 10.3. Now what we're going to do is compare Discover to its peers. So first of all, their market capitalization, the price times all their outstanding shares, is about $25 billion. It's much smaller than the other credit card companies like American Express or Capital One or Synchrony. Now, we also look at the dividend yield. That is the amount of dollars they're paying to their shareholders divided by the price. That dividend yield is 2.1%. That's the highest of the peers that we just mentioned. And so that's good. You're getting a high dividend, high amounts of money for the price compared to the peers. Now, we talked about the PE. The PE was 10.1 or 10.13. If you compare to the peers like Capital One and Synchrony and American Express, they're all over 12 at the time we did this analysis. So on a PE basis, Discover is cheaper, and on a dividend yield, it's cheaper. Now remember, Hartford was even more cheap because on a price to earnings basis, it's only 10 times. Now we'll go into doing some comparison ratios when I talk about my proprietary stock screen next time. But at least on the face of it, at this time, Discover seemed to be cheap compared to its competitors. So let's talk a little bit more about fundamental analysis, which is what this is called and what we just did for these 2 companies. Fundamental analysis uses valuation metrics like the PE, like the price to book. Does the PE make the stock expensive or cheap? Does the price to book value make the stock expensive or cheap? Does the price to the EBITDA make the stock expensive or cheap? And what about the dividend yield? Is it higher than all its peers? That's fundamental analysis. So let's stop there. Thanks for watching. I believe in you.